Alright everyone, big news. The Division 2 has been officially announced in today's State of the Game for the 2-year anniversary. There was honestly quite a bit more information that they talked about, including 4 new legendary missions over the next few months, 2 new global events, and then recycling the previous global events, and then this new thing called shields or crests, which will allow you in the original Division game to kind of complete various activities and unlock different achievements, and then gain subsequent rewards in the sequel, in the Division 2, when it finally comes out. So there's a lot of other stuff going on, but the real big important announcement was that Division 2 has been in development since, at one point he even, and I quote, said, since about a month after the original game released. So they got together a small team back then, and they have since been working on it for over 2 years, and starting to prep for the launch of Division 2. I know a lot of people are probably super excited at this point about this announcement, and it's definitely true of a vast majority of people that were in the State of the Game chat room who were kind of losing their minds. It was a big announcement, and it is a big announcement. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have some butterflies in the wrong way in my stomach as well, considering if we look over at Destiny and the way that that kind of shaped up over the course of its sequel release. Right now, the Division is in a really good spot. You know, some people could argue that the balance is off. Perhaps they would go out on a limb and say that, you know, the gear sets and the classified gear and the 6-piece bonuses destroyed build diversity and really forced it into a class-based system without actually doing so. All of those things are warranted, but it really is in a great spot for the sheer amount of content that it has going on. So if they launch a sequel, if they take a step backwards and then launch something that doesn't have as much content, it's really going to be a bad thing, and it's going to have massive repercussions for the entire franchise, and I'm assuming that they're going to do sequels beyond this if it even has a mild degree of success, considering how quickly they started working on Division 2. But if they do what Destiny and Bungie did, and they kind of downgrade the product and they go back to the broken initial release format and then parcel in DLC and, you know, slowly update with, you know, more activities, that's going to be a really bad thing. What they need to do is expand upon what the Division 1 is, because it did take years to get to this point. It was a bumpy road. You'll never hear me shy away from talking about the struggles that the original Division game went through. It was a bumpy road. There were a lot of potholes, especially. And if they kind of go back to that, if they downgrade what the Division is and then sell it as a sequel, and then slowly rebuild on top of that, it's really going to be a negative thing, and it's not going to be received well by any of the hardcore fans or the enduring community that is still present in the game. Another thing that was made pretty clear in the broadcast is that there will be no further information regarding Division 2 other than what they just stated in the live broadcast, talking about the crests or the shields, you know, the achievements which would carry over into Division 2, the timeline for when they started working on it. There will be no further information until E3 2018 in the summer. So a lot of people are going to be, you know, trying to find information on that, trying to look for leaked info, look for maybe gameplay snippets, things like that. That's not going to be available at all in any capacity, you know, barring some sort of actual major leak or some kind of person, you know, breaking NDA. That's not going to be available until E3. And at E3, I think it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to expect to see one of these kind of doctored, you know, gameplay co-op things that they showed for the original game, as well as Anthem, EA and BioWare's Anthem. We get this kind of forced interaction squad cinematic thing that's supposed to be gameplay, but really honestly isn't gameplay, because if it was gameplay, then the Division 1 wouldn't have been such a massive downgrade. But that kind of format where they have, you know, some dialogue, some commentary, a little bit of what appears to be gameplay, and a kind of cinematic unveiling of it. I think it's very fair to expect some of that. If we get more than that, that would be fantastic, but I wouldn't really count on it. Another thing I wanted to address, and this is completely ripped out of context and actually doesn't apply to what I'm kind of insinuating that it applies to, right here.
Wait, is this just your
It's the same one, it's just rebranded.
Wow. Okay.
This kind of scared me a little bit, and he's not actually talking about the game. He's talking about a strawberry joke that he's trying to tell to one of his colleagues. But this really freaked me out, because when we do examine things like Destiny, which just had a sequel launch, they had a ton of marketing go into that, there was a ton of hype, it was built on top of a game that had, you know, taken multiple years to get to a point of really deserving, you know, the fan dedication, really deserving the player base and having a lot of really well-constructed content. And they built the sequel on top of that in such a flimsy way that it really fell apart rather quickly. And now it's in arguably the worst state that the franchise, the Destiny franchise, has ever been in its entire lifespan. So this really concerned me, because if it is just a reskin, which I hope doesn't happen, then that could be quite damaging. Another thing that we do know for a fact now, based on this broadcast, is that the Division 2 is still based off of the Snowdrop engine, which is the original engine that the Division 1 was based off. And there's some concerns regarding that as well. Considering the fact that the Snowdrop engine is basically kind of super susceptible to hacking and has really bad connectivity issues, the netcode, it's got some really, some really troubling intrinsic struggles that are baked right into the engine. And the Division 2 will also be based off of that engine. Another thing is that the max player count on the current Snowdrop engine in the current game is 24. And if they're still restricted to that 24 max player count per server, that's going to be a little bit problematic, perhaps, if they're trying to undergo and take on these larger, grander pieces of content like a battle royale, perhaps. I don't really know if we're going to get that. That's pure speculation. But if they do base the game on the same engine and they do revert to the previous state of the Division when it was really, truly broken, and then build on top of that again, as I've already reiterated in this video multiple times, that would be kind of the worst possible thing to do to the hardcore player base and to the franchise and the sequel and the entire concept of the Division as a whole. One last thing I want to make specific mention of is the fact that Massive has opened up different positions and is now hiring. Whether or not this has to do with the Division 2 specifically, which I strongly believe that it does due to the increased workload, remains to be seen. But they're bringing in a lot of new people, a lot of new talent to help build on current projects that they're working on, which presumably would be Division 2. Also, these two guys are a big deal. A lot of the times in the recent past, State of the Game has been kind of the community developers or the community managers, and then very specific people for very specific projects. These two guys are high up the totem pole, and they're very important. Another thing that was cited specifically is all the different studios that will be working on the Division 2, and they listed a lot. It's not just 1, 2, or 3, or 4 even studios. It's about 5 or 6, and they're spread all over the world. So the Division 2 presumably is going to be a very large project. That's all the information that I have based on the State of the Game and various other sources, and we probably will not be expecting anything else in the future until E3 2018, at which point we'll get some more info, whatever shape that takes. That's going to wrap it up though, guys. This was kind of an off-topic kind of video. I didn't script this or anything. I just reacted to what was posted on Twitter, what appeared on State of the Game. Just a simple announcement, I guess, talking about the game and, trying to address that for all the people that follow the channel and are really in tune with the Division. But again, that's going to wrap it up. Check out the links down below if you want to support the game. We do have this awesome shirt available, the Day 1 Rogue shirt, which is going to be made even more relevant, I think, by the fact that the Division 2 is now coming out. We know that this kind of franchise, this concept, the Division, will continue on long after Division 1. Because even if they do the sequel badly, even if they revert to the previous broken form, there'll still be a lot of people that play it, and it will still stick around for quite some time. So if you are a Day 1 Rogue, then pick it up. But otherwise, check out the other links down below, the website forums, the other areas of the community. And as always, thank you for watching, and have a nice night.
Your card.
No, I'm fired now.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're back on me again?
Back on you, man.
Oh my god.
Dude, Petter is the best. They can't fire him. He is the real MVP. But that's really it. Signing off.